techniques, and burial practices that reflected emerging social hierarchies and cultural values. The domestication of horses by Proto-Scythian peoples represented one of humanity's most significant technological achievements, transforming both military capabilities and economic possibilities while enabling the exploitation of environmental resources that had previously been inaccessible to human communities. The development of advanced riding techniques, specialized horse breeding programs, and the equipment necessary for mounted warfare required generations of experimentation and innovation that culminated in the sophisticated horse culture that would define Scythian civilization. Archaeological evidence from early Scythian sites includes horse bits, bridles, and other riding equipment that demonstrate the technical mastery achieved by nomadic craftsmen in creating tools adapted to the demands of life on horseback. The emergence of Scythian power coincided with the development of advanced metallurgical techniques that enabled the production of sophisticated weapons and ornamental objects that demonstrated both technical mastery and artistic sophistication. The transition from bronze to iron technology among Scythian communities occurred during the 8th and 7th centuries BC, with archaeological evidence revealing the gradual adoption of iron working techniques that had been developed in the Near East and Anatolia. Scythian smiths quickly mastered these new technologies while developing distinctive techniques for creating composite bows, scale armor, and ceremonial objects that would become characteristic of steppe nomad culture throughout the ancient period. The revolutionary military innovations that gave Scythian warriors their decisive advantages over sedentary armies included not only superior weapons technology but also tactical doctrines that exploited the mobility and flexibility inherent in mounted warfare. The development of the composite bow represented a quantum leap in military technology, with this weapon constructed from horn, wood, and sinew providing range and penetrating power that exceeded anything available to infantry forces while remaining compact enough for use on horseback. The technical complexity of composite bow construction required specialized knowledge and skilled craftsmanship that was jealously guarded by nomadic communities and transmitted through apprenticeship systems that preserved manufacturing secrets across generations. The social organization that supported these technological achievements reflected the unique demands of nomadic life while enabling the coordination of military activities across vast territories involving thousands of warriors from different tribal groups. Scythian society was organized around kinship networks that provided the foundation for military units, with related families forming the basic building blocks of larger confederations that could unite for major campaigns while maintaining their autonomy during peaceful periods. The leadership of these confederations emerged from demonstrated competence in warfare, diplomacy, and the management of pastoral resources, creating meritocratic systems that rewarded achievement while maintaining traditional respect for ancestry and tribal heritage. Archaeological investigations of Scythian burial sites have revealed the elaborate social stratification that characterized their civilization, with elite warriors and rulers buried in massive burial mounds called kurgans that contained vast quantities of gold ornaments, weapons, and sacrificed animals that demonstrated the wealth and power accumulated through successful military campaigns and trade relationships. These monumental tombs, some reaching heights of over 20 meters and requiring thousands of hours of labor to construct, served as permanent markers of elite status while providing venues for elaborate funeral ceremonies that reinforced social hierarchies and cultural values. The construction of kurgans involved entire communities working together to create lasting monuments that would preserve the memory of distinguished individuals while demonstrating the collective wealth and organizational capacity of their societies. The discovery of frozen Scythian burials in the Altai Mountains has provided unprecedented insights into the daily life, artistic achievements, and cultural practices of these nomadic peoples, with the permafrost preserving organic materials that would normally decay beyond recognition. The Pazyryk kurgans, excavated during the 20th century, contained remarkably preserved examples of Scythian textiles, leather goods, wooden artifacts, and even human remains that provide intimate glimpses into the sophisticated material culture of nomadic elites. These frozen time capsules reveal the extraordinary artistic achievements of Scythian craftsmen, including felt carpets with complex decorative programs, leather garments decorated with gold appliques, and wooden objects carved with animal motifs that demonstrate the technical mastery and aesthetic sophistication of nomadic artists. The famous Siberian Ice Maiden, discovered in the Pazyryk kurgans, exemplifies the remarkable preservation that has allowed modern archaeologists to reconstruct intimate details of Scythian life and death rituals. This woman of high status, probably a priestess or shamanic practitioner, was buried with elaborate grave goods that included silk garments demonstrating extensive trade relationships with distant civilizations, wooden artifacts decorated with animal motifs reflecting Scythian spiritual beliefs, and personal ornaments showcasing the technical mastery of Scythian craftsmen. Her body bore extensive tattoos featuring mythological animals and geometric patterns that provided insights into Scythian religious beliefs and artistic traditions, while chemical analysis of her remains revealed information about Scythian diet, health, and medicinal practices. The artistic achievements of Scythian civilization culminated in a distinctive style known as the animal style, characterized by flowing, dynamic representations of predators, prey animals, and mythological creatures that adorned everything from small personal ornaments to massive ceremonial vessels. This artistic tradition, which emerged during the 7th century BC and continued to evolve throughout the Scythian period, reflected deep spiritual beliefs about the relationship between humans and the natural world while serving practical functions in identifying tribal affiliations and social status. The technical virtuosity displayed in Scythian animal-style art required sophisticated understanding of metallurgical processes, including casting, hammering, engraving, and inlay techniques that enabled artists to create complex compositions combining multiple materials and decorative elements. Scythian goldsmiths created masterpieces of metalworking that combined technical virtuosity with symbolic complexity, producing objects like the famous Tolstoya modula pectoral that demonstrate the sophisticated aesthetic sensibilities and cultural values of nomadic societies often dismissed by sedentary civilizations as primitive barbarians. Made of 24-karat gold, this pectoral weighs 2.5 pounds and features intricate decorative programs with multiple registers of imagery telling complex stories about Scythian mythology, social organization, and relationships with the natural world. The lower register depicts scenes of predators attacking domestic animals, while the upper register shows peaceful pastoral scenes with Scythian men caring for livestock, creating narrative tensions that reflect the fundamental duality of nomadic life balance between creative nurturing and destructive warfare. The economic foundation of Scythian civilization rested upon sophisticated systems of animal husbandry that enabled nomadic communities to extract maximum benefit from the grassland environment, while maintaining the mobility necessary for military and political success. Scythian herders developed advanced techniques for managing mixed herds of horses, cattle, sheep, and goats that provided meat, milk, leather, wool, and transportation while following seasonal migration patterns that maximized pasture utilization and minimized environmental degradation. The seasonal movements of Scythian tribes followed established routes that connected summer pastures in the northern steppes with winter shelters in river valleys and forested areas, creating predictable patterns that enabled the coordination of economic activities and the maintenance of territorial boundaries. The integration of pastoralism with long-distance trade created economic opportunities that enabled Scythian communities to accumulate the wealth necessary for their elaborate material culture and military equipment. Scythian merchants and traders served as essential intermediaries connecting the civilizations of the Mediterranean world with the peoples of Central Asia and the Far East, facilitating the exchange of luxury goods, raw materials, and technological innovations across vast distances. The presence of Chinese silk, Greek pottery, Persian carpets, and Indian precious stones in Scythian burial sites demonstrates the remarkable geographical extent of their commercial relationships, while the standardization of certain artifact types across different regions suggests the existence of established trade networks and possibly formal commercial agreements. The strategic location of Scythian territories along the great trade routes that would later become known as the Silk Road enabled nomadic communities to profit from commercial activities while providing security services for merchant caravans crossing the dangerous expanses of the Eurasian steppes. Scythian warriors served as escorts for trading expeditions, protecting valuable cargoes from bandits and rival nomadic groups while facilitating diplomatic contacts between distant civilizations. The wealth generated through these commercial activities supported the elaborate material culture visible in Scythian archaeological sites while enabling the acquisition of luxury goods and advanced technologies that enhanced both the quality of life and the military capabilities of nomadic communities. The political organization of Scythian society involved complex confederations of tribal groups that could unite for military campaigns while maintaining their independence during peaceful periods, creating flexible political structures that enabled effective governance over vast territories without the administrative bureaucracies that characterized sedentary states. Scythian kings ruled through personal relationships and demonstrated competence rather than hereditary authority, though successful dynasties could maintain power across multiple generations through military achievement and the distribution of wealth acquired through warfare and trade. The authority of Scythian rulers depended upon their ability to lead successful military campaigns, distribute booty fairly among their followers, and maintain the diplomatic relationships necessary for peaceful coexistence with neighboring peoples. The most famous Scythian ruler known to history, King Scythian, exemplified both the cosmopolitan character of Scythian elite culture and the tensions that could arise between traditional nomadic values and the attractions of settled civilization. Scythian maintained residences in Greek cities along the Black Sea coast while continuing to rule his nomadic subjects, adopting Greek customs and participating in Greek religious ceremonies that scandalized traditional Scythians who viewed such behavior as betrayal of ancestral traditions and divine mandates. His eventual assassination by his own nobles demonstrated the limits of cultural adaptation that Scythian society would tolerate, while illustrating the complex negotiations between tradition and innovation that characterized relationships between nomadic and sedentary peoples throughout the ancient world. The military organization that made Scythian armies so formidable involved the integration of different tribal contingents into coordinated tactical formations that could execute complex maneuvers across vast battlefields, while maintaining the flexibility necessary for rapid adaptation to changing circumstances. Scythian military doctrine emphasized mobility, surprise, and the psychological impact of mounted archery, with tactical formations designed to exploit the superior range and maneuverability of cavalry forces while avoiding the close combat situations where infantry advantages in armor and weapons could prove decisive. The famous Scythian tactic of the feigned retreat, where apparent panic and flight would draw pursuing enemies into carefully prepared ambushes, required exceptional discipline and coordination among warriors accustomed to individual heroics and personal glory. The composite bow technology that formed the foundation of Scythian military supremacy represented centuries of technological development and refinement, with archaeological evidence revealing the gradual evolution of bow design from simple wooden constructions to the sophisticated composite weapons that would dominate steppe warfare for over a millennium. The construction of composite bows required specialized knowledge of materials science, with craftsmen selecting specific types of wood, horn, and sinew that would provide optimal performance under the extreme stress conditions of mounted archery. The manufacturing process involved months of careful work, with materials being shaped, seasoned, and assembled using techniques that were closely guarded secrets transmitted through family lineages and craft guilds. The arrows used with Scythian composite bows were equally sophisticated, with bronze and iron points designed for different tactical situations and target types, while the shafts were carefully balanced and fletched to provide accuracy at the extended ranges that gave mounted archers their decisive advantages. Archaeological analysis of Scythian arrowheads reveals the standardization of production techniques and the development of specialized point designs optimized for penetrating different types of armor and achieving specific tactical objectives. The psychological impact of Scythian archery was as important as its physical effects, with the sound of hundreds of arrows whistling through the air creating terror among infantry formations that had no effective response to attacks delivered from beyond the range of their own weapons. The religious beliefs and practices of Scythian civilization centered on the worship of a pantheon of deities associated with warfare, fertility, and the natural forces that govern nomadic life, with elaborate rituals involving animal sacrifice, divination, and shamanic practices that maintained cosmic harmony and ensured the prosperity of the community. The Scythian pantheon included Tabidi, the goddess of the hearth and royal power, Papeos, the sky god and chief deity, and Api, the earth goddess associated with fertility and abundance, along with other divine beings who governed specific aspects of nomadic life and the natural world. Archaeological evidence suggests that Scythian religious practices included the use of cannabis and other psychoactive substances in ceremonial contexts, possibly explaining the reports of classical authors who described Scythian religious ceremonies as involving altered states of consciousness and ecstatic experiences. The role of shamans in Scythian society appears to have been crucial for maintaining spiritual harmony and providing guidance during times of crisis, with these religious specialists serving as intermediaries between the human and divine worlds while possessing specialized knowledge of healing, divination, and magical practices. Archaeological evidence from Scythian burial sites includes objects that may have belonged to shamanic practitioners, including mirrors used for divination, containers for psychoactive substances, and amulets believed to provide spiritual protection. The tattoos found on preserved Scythian remains may have served shamanic functions, with the animal motifs providing spiritual protection while identifying the bearer's relationship with specific divine patrons or spiritual guides. The role of women in Scythian society appears to have been more prominent than in many contemporary civilizations, with archaeological evidence revealing female warriors buried with weapons and armor alongside elaborate grave goods that indicate high social status. About 20% of Scythian Sarmatian warrior graves on the Lower Don and Lower Volga contained females dressed as warriors, suggesting that gender roles in nomadic society were more flexible than in agricultural civilizations, possibly due to the demands of nomadic life that required all community members to possess martial skills and the ability to defend themselves and their property. The legendary Amazon warriors described by Greek historians may have been based on encounters with Scythian women who participated in warfare alongside their male counterparts, demonstrating the archery skills and horsemanship that made Scythian military forces so formidable. The daily life of ordinary Scythian families revolved around the seasonal cycles of pastoral nomadism, with communities moving between summer and winter pastures according to patterns established over generations of experience with local environmental conditions. Scythian dwellings included portable felt tents that could be quickly assembled and disassembled during migrations, along with more substantial wooden structures used during extended stays in winter quarters. The domestic economy of Scythian households involved the processing of animal products into food, clothing, and trade goods, with women playing crucial roles in the production of felt, leather goods, and dairy products that formed essential components of nomadic material culture. The diet of Scythian communities was based primarily on animal products, including meat, milk, and blood from their herds, supplemented by wild game, fish, and plant foods gathered during seasonal migrations. Archaeological analysis of Scythian remains reveals evidence of a protein-rich diet that supported the physical demands of nomadic life while providing the nutrition necessary for the strenuous activities of mounted warfare. The preservation techniques used by Scythian communities included smoking, drying, and fermentation methods that enabled the storage of food supplies during long migrations and provided sustenance during winter months when fresh food sources were limited. The technological innovations developed by Scythian craftsmen extended beyond military applications to include advances in transportation, clothing, and domestic equipment that enhanced the efficiency and comfort of nomadic life. Scythian wagon construction represented sophisticated understanding of engineering principles, with vehicles designed to carry heavy loads across rough terrain while remaining durable enough to withstand the stresses of constant travel. The development of specialized clothing adapted to the extreme climate variations of the steppes included layered garment systems that provided insulation during winter months while allowing adequate ventilation during summer heat, along with protective equipment designed for mounted activities and warfare. The artistic traditions that flourished in Scythian society included not only the famous animal-style metalwork but also sophisticated textile production, leather working, and wood carving that created a distinctive material culture expressing nomadic values and aesthetic preferences. Scythian textile production achieved remarkable sophistication, with preserved examples revealing complex weaving techniques, elaborate decorative programs, and the use of expensive imported materials like silk that demonstrated the wealth and cosmopolitan connections of nomadic elites. The geometric patterns and animal motifs that characterized Scythian textiles influenced decorative traditions throughout Central Asia, while providing models that would be adapted by successor cultures for centuries after the decline of Scythian political power. The decline of Scythian power began during the 3rd century BC as changing political conditions throughout Eurasia created new challenges that exceeded the adaptive capacity of traditional nomadic political organizations. The rise of the Sarmatian confederations to the east brought new military pressures, with these related nomadic peoples possessing technological innovations including heavy cavalry armed with long lances that could break traditional Scythian archer formations. The expansion of Hellenistic kingdoms following Alexander's conquests created more organized opposition than Scythian forces had previously encountered, with professional armies equipped with advanced siege technologies and supported by sophisticated logistical systems that could sustain extended campaigns against nomadic opponents. The Sarmatian tribes that gradually displaced Scythian power represented an evolution of steppe nomad culture that incorporated technological innovations while maintaining the mobility and tactical flexibility that had made nomadic military forces so effective against sedentary armies. The transition from Scythian to Sarmatian dominance occurred gradually over several centuries, with many Scythian tribes being absorbed into Sarmatian confederations rather than being eliminated through military conquest. Archaeological evidence suggests that this transition involved cultural synthesis rather than wholesale replacement, with Sarmatian communities adopting many Scythian artistic traditions and technological innovations while introducing their own distinctive elements. The establishment of Greek colonies along the Black Sea coast created new dynamics in the relationship between nomadic and sedentary populations, with some Scythian groups adopting agricultural practices and urban living while maintaining their ethnic identity and cultural traditions. These Hellenized Scythians developed hybrid cultures that combined nomadic traditions with Greek political institutions and artistic styles, creating unique syntheses that influenced the development of regional cultures throughout the Black Sea region. The archaeological record reveals increasing contact between Scythian and Greek populations during the Classical period, with evidence of intermarriage, cultural exchange, and economic cooperation that challenges traditional narratives about the relationship between civilized and barbarian peoples. The Roman expansion into the Black Sea region during the imperial period brought new pressures that further accelerated the transformation of Scythian society, with some groups accepting Roman client status while others migrated eastward to avoid incorporation into the imperial system. The flexibility that had enabled Scythian civilization to thrive for over half a millennium proved equally valuable in adapting to these new circumstances, with Scythian descendants contributing to the development of new political formations that would dominate the steppes during the medieval period. The Gothic migrations that began during the 2nd century CE involved the integration of Germanic peoples with residual Scythian populations, creating new ethnic confederations that combined Germanic political traditions with steppe military techniques and nomadic economic practices. The legacy of Scythian civilization extends far beyond the chronological boundaries of their political dominance, with their innovations in cavalry warfare, metalworking, and artistic expression influencing the development of military technology and cultural traditions throughout Eurasia for centuries after their political eclipse. The composite bow technology developed by Scythian archers was adopted by Chinese, Persian, and Roman military forces, while Scythian artistic motifs continued to appear in the decorative traditions of successor cultures throughout Central Asia and Eastern Europe. The political and military innovations pioneered by Scythian confederations provided models for later nomadic empires, including the Huns, Mongols, and other steppe peoples who would dominate Eurasian politics during the medieval period. The preservation of Scythian burial sites in the permafrost of Siberia has enabled modern archaeologists to reconstruct detailed pictures of nomadic life that challenge traditional assumptions about the sophistication and complexity of non-literate societies. Recent archaeological discoveries continue to reveal new aspects of Scythian civilization, with DNA analysis providing insights into the ethnic composition and migration patterns of nomadic populations, while the application of new analytical techniques to existing museum collections yields fresh information about Scythian technology, artistic techniques, and cultural practices. The discovery of previously unknown burial sites and the re-examination of existing archaeological evidence using advanced scientific methods promises to further expand our understanding of one of the ancient world's most influential nomadic civilizations. The enduring fascination with Scythian culture reflects both the romantic appeal of nomadic freedom and the recognition that these ancient horsemen developed solutions to fundamental human challenges that remain relevant to contemporary society. Their ability to maintain cultural identity while adapting to changing circumstances, their integration of military prowess with artistic achievement, and their successful management of diverse populations across vast territories provide valuable lessons for modern societies grappling with similar challenges on a global scale. The Scythian example demonstrates that sophisticated civilization can develop without urban centers and centralized bureaucracies, offering alternative models of social organization that emphasize flexibility, mobility, and adaptation to environmental conditions. As we drift toward sleep, carried by the rhythm of hoofbeats across endless grasslands, we can imagine the flickering campfires of Scythian encampments scattered across the starlit steppes, where warriors and craftsmen, shamans and herders, gathered to share stories of distant lands and ancient traditions. In these moments of quiet reflection around the dying embers, we glimpse the human faces behind the archaeological artifacts, the individual lives that collectively created a civilization spanning continents and centuries, leaving golden treasures buried in frozen tombs as testament to their remarkable achievements in the vast theater of the Eurasian steppes.